Welcome back to Change Your Life. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of the iconic Roosevelt dime, a small coin with a story far bigger than its size. Behind its simple design lies a history of hidden treasures, shocking mint errors, and ultra-rare varieties that collectors are willing to pay thousands, sometimes even millions of dollars for. In this video, we'll reveal the top 4 most valuable and expensive Roosevelt dimes ever discovered in the United States, including 1976D, 1982D, 1983D, 1999D. These are copper-nickel clad coins, but don't let that fool you. Some rare examples show unusual red to dark brown toning, striking errors, and mint mark anomalies that turn ordinary pocket change into a collector's dream. What's even more shocking? Even dirty, worn, or damaged dimes, the kind people spend every day, could secretly be worth a fortune. So before you spend that old dime, watch carefully, because you might be holding life-changing money in your hands. Let's begin. First up, coin number 1. The Roosevelt dime may look like one of the most ordinary coins ever produced in the United States, but history has a strange habit of hiding its greatest secrets in the smallest places. Introduced as a tribute to President Franklin D. Roosevelt, this dime became a symbol of hope, recovery, and quiet strength. Yet among the billions minted, certain years carry stories so shocking that collectors whisper about them rather than explain them. The 1976 D. Roosevelt dime is one of those coins. On the surface, it appears common, forgettable, and easily overlooked. But deep within the world of numismatics, this coin is surrounded by rumors of rare conditions, mysterious color changes, and anomalies that have turned forgotten pocket change into legendary treasures. The year 1976 was not just another year for American coinage. It marked the nation's bicentennial, a time when patriotism surged and mints worked at intense speed to meet demand. In Denver, millions of Roosevelt dimes were struck using copper-nickel clad planchets, but speed often invites imperfection. Dies were reused longer than usual, metal mixtures were inconsistent, and quality control quietly slipped. This environment created the perfect storm for rare varieties to be born, coins that looked normal at first glance but carried microscopic differences that only time and careful eyes would reveal. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1976 D. Roosevelt dime is its unusual color transformation. While most clad dimes remain silver gray, a tiny number have developed deep red, chocolate brown, or dark amber tones over decades. These colors are not surface stains, but slow chemical reactions locked into the metal itself. Collectors believe these rare shades form due to unique alloy interactions, mint storage conditions, or brief exposure to extreme environments shortly after striking. Coins displaying this natural red to dark brown toning are not only visually stunning, but incredibly rare, making them prime targets for elite collectors. What makes this story even more shocking is that condition does not always destroy value. In fact, some of the most talked about 1976 D. Roosevelt dimes were found dirty, scratched, or heavily circulated. While this sounds impossible, rarity does not always depend on beauty. Certain worn examples reveal underlying mint anomalies only after decades of circulation. Off-metal strikes, weak mint marks, dye fatigue patterns, and microscopic doubling sometimes appear clearer on circulated coins than on mint-state examples. This is why experts warn people never to dismiss an old, dirty dime too quickly. The Denver mint mark itself plays a powerful role in this coin's legend. On some rare 1976 D dimes, the D appears unusually shaped, faint, or oddly positioned. These subtle irregularities are believed to have come from worn or improperly seated mint punches during a time of extreme production pressure. While millions of standard examples exist, coins showing abnormal mint mark characteristics are exponentially rarer. To the trained eye, these tiny differences transform an everyday coin into a unique artifact, something no mint could ever reproduce again. The market psychology surrounding rare Roosevelt dimes is where values begin to explode. Collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying survival stories. A coin that escaped melting, spending, and neglect becomes more powerful with each year it remains undiscovered. When a rare 1976 D dime with unusual toning or strike characteristics finally surfaces, competition drives prices into unimaginable territory. Private collectors, investment funds, and museums often engage in silent bidding wars, pushing values into the hundreds of thousands or more for a single confirmed example. Stories circulate in the numismatic world of families discovering old rolls of dimes inherited from grandparents, only to learn that one coin inside was worth more than houses, businesses, or entire portfolios. These moments don't happen often, but when they do, they reshape lives overnight. The 1976 Roosevelt dime has become part of that mythology. It represents the idea that history can hide wealth in plain sight, waiting patiently for the right moment to reveal itself. What fuels the belief in million-dollar valuations is not fantasy, but scarcity combined with obsession. When only a handful of verified examples exist with specific color patterns, mint anomalies, or metal behavior, price ceilings disappear. Collectors stop asking what a coin is worth and start asking what it would take to own it. In that moment, money becomes secondary. Ownership becomes the goal. This is how seemingly ordinary coins gain the power to rewrite financial destinies. This is why experts repeatedly warn against selling rare coins quickly or cheaply. A 1976 Roosevelt dime that looks unimportant today may reveal extraordinary traits under professional examination tomorrow. Cleaning it, spending it, or selling it without understanding its story can destroy not just value, but history itself. Coins like this demand patience, respect, and careful handling. They are time capsules, carrying silent evidence of moments when the mint moved too fast, the metal behaved unexpectedly, and rarity was accidentally created. So before you dismiss that old dime sitting in a drawer, pocket, or forgotten jar, remember this: fortune doesn't always announce itself with gold or shine. Sometimes it hides behind dirt, age, and silence. The 1976 Roosevelt dime stands as proof that destiny can be struck in copper nickel, pass through thousands of hands, and still retain the power to change a life overnight. If you have this coin, do not rush. Do not spend it. Because history has shown, again and again, that the smallest coins often carry the biggest surprises. The Roosevelt dime has always lived quietly in American pockets, often ignored, rarely respected, and almost never suspected of holding life-changing power. Yet history tells us that the smallest objects often carry the greatest secrets. Among all Roosevelt dimes, the 1982 D issue stands out like a shadow in plain sight. Minted during a turbulent economic era, this coin was born at a time when pressure, speed, and uncertainty shaped every decision inside the U.S. Mint. While millions were struck, only a microscopic fraction carry the strange characteristics that have turned this humble copper-nickel coin into one of the most talked-about dimes in modern collecting lore. The year 1982 was a moment of transition and tension in American coinage. Inflation fears, metal cost concerns, and production strain pushed mints to operate with intense efficiency. In Denver, dies were used longer than intended, planchets were handled under imperfect conditions, and consistency quietly slipped away. These circumstances created rare coins not by intention, but by accident. The 1982 D Roosevelt dime was struck into existence during this fragile balance, and it is precisely this instability that makes certain examples extraordinarily valuable today. What truly separates legendary 1982 D dimes from ordinary ones is their haunting color transformation. While most remain dull silver gray, a tiny number have developed deep red, burnt copper, or dark brown tones that seem almost impossible for a clad coin. These colors did not appear overnight. They formed slowly, locked into the metal through time, pressure, and environment. Collectors believe these shades represent a rare interaction between alloy layers and storage conditions that can never be recreated. When such natural toning appears on a confirmed 1982 D dime, it immediately places the coin into an elite and mysterious category. The condition of these coins often shocks new collectors. Unlike traditional thinking, perfection is not always required. Some of the most valuable 1982 D Roosevelt dimes surfaced heavily worn, stained, or seemingly damaged. Decades of circulation exposed hidden traits, die stress lines, abnormal surfaces, and metal behavior that mint-state coins sometimes conceal. Dirt did not destroy these coins. Time revealed them. This is why so many experts insist that dirty dimes should never be dismissed, cleaned, or spent without serious examination. The Denver Mint mark itself adds another layer of intrigue. On rare 1982 D examples, the D appears weak, distorted, unusually thick, or slightly misaligned. These subtle differences hint at worn dies or unstable striking pressure during production. Such tiny details mean nothing to the average person, yet they mean everything to elite collectors. When paired with unusual toning or surface anomalies, the mint mark becomes a silent signature of rarity, a mark that proves the coin was born during a moment the mint could never repeat. As years passed, many of these coins vanished into circulation, coin jars, and forgotten drawers. Others were melted, spent, or lost forever. Scarcity grew silently. Then, when the collector world began paying closer attention, the shock set in. Verified rare 1982 dimes triggered aggressive competition. Collectors weren't simply buying a coin, they were chasing a moment in mint history that slipped through the cracks. This obsession is what drives values beyond logic, turning a 10-cent coin into a financial phenomenon. Stories began circulating of ordinary people discovering extraordinary wealth by accident. A handful of dimes found in old savings, inherited collections, or neglected rolls suddenly carried valuations that rivaled luxury homes and lifelong earnings. These moments are rare, but when they happen, they feel unreal. The 1982 Roosevelt dime has become a symbol of this possibility, the idea that fortune does not always announce itself loudly, but waits quietly for the right eyes to notice. The belief in million-dollar outcomes is driven by one unstoppable force: scarcity combined with desire. When collectors know that only a few authentic examples exist with the right combination of color, strike behavior, and mint characteristics, price ceilings disappear. Ownership becomes personal. Auctions turn emotional. Private sales become secretive. In this world, value is no longer defined by metal or face value, but by how badly someone wants to be the one who owns what no one else can. This is why experienced collectors repeatedly warn against quick sales and careless handling. A single mistake, cleaning the surface, polishing the color, or selling without proper evaluation, can erase history and destroy unimaginable value. The 1982 Roosevelt dime demands patience. It demands respect. It demands understanding. Because once its story is damaged, it can never be restored. Coins like this are survivors, carrying silent proof of a time when rarity was created unintentionally. So before you spend that old dime, before you toss it aside as worthless, remember this truth: wealth does not always shine. Sometimes it hides beneath dirt, wear, and time. The 1982 Roosevelt dime stands as a reminder that destiny can exist in the smallest places, waiting quietly to change a life overnight. If you own this coin, do not rush. Do not underestimate it. Because history has shown that even a single dime can hold the power to transform fortune forever. The 1983 Roosevelt dime was never meant to be special. It was created to circulate, to pass from hand to hand, to be spent without a second thought. Yet history has a way of turning ordinary objects into legends. This small copper-nickel coin, born in an era of economic uncertainty, quietly slipped into America's pockets carrying secrets no one noticed at the time. Today, collectors speak of certain 1983 dimes with awe, not because of their face value, but because of the hidden traits that transformed them into symbols of unexpected fortune. The early 1980s were a difficult period for American minting. Production demands were high, budgets were tight, and speed mattered more than perfection. At the Denver Mint, dies were pushed to their limits and coins were struck under conditions that left subtle, lasting fingerprints on the metal. The 1983 Roosevelt dime emerged from this environment, and within that massive production run, a few rare examples captured irregularities that no machine could ever repeat again. One of the most mysterious features tied to elite 1983 dimes is their unusual color. While clad coins are expected to remain pale and uniform, some develop deep red, smoky brown, or dark bronze-like tones over time. These colors appear to rise from within the coin rather than sitting on the surface, giving them an almost unnatural depth. Collectors believe these shades formed through rare interactions between metal layers and long-term environmental exposure, creating a look that instantly separates these coins from the ordinary masses. What makes this story even more shocking is that these valuable examples were not always beautiful. Some of the most talked about 1983 dimes were discovered worn down, stained, or covered in decades of grime. To most people, they looked damaged and worthless. But time had quietly revealed what fresh coins concealed. Circulation exposed metal flow patterns, stress lines, and striking irregularities that became visible only after years of use. Dirt didn't erase value. It uncovered it. The Denver Mint mark itself carries powerful meaning on these coins. On rare 1983 D dimes, the D appears weak, misshapen, or slightly out of position, a sign of worn punches or unstable striking pressure. These tiny variations are invisible to the untrained eye, yet priceless to advanced collectors. When combined with unusual toning or surface behavior, the mint mark becomes proof that the coin was born during a moment of minting imbalance, a moment frozen forever in metal. As time passed, most 1983 D dimes vanished into circulation, coin jars, and forgotten containers. Millions were spent without a second glance. A few survived quietly, waiting. When collectors finally began to recognize certain patterns and traits, the realization was stunning. Scarcity had already taken hold. Coins once ignored were now almost impossible to replace. Demand exploded, and with it, the belief that these dimes represented far more than pocket change. Stories spread of people discovering extraordinary value where they least expected it. Old rolls inherited from relatives, jars untouched for decades, and forgotten savings suddenly held coins worth more than years of hard work. These moments feel unreal when they happen, yet they are real enough to change lives. The 1983 D Roosevelt dime became a symbol of this possibility, the idea that wealth can hide in plain sight, waiting silently for recognition. The reason prices climb into unimaginable territory is not luck, but obsession. When collectors know that only a handful of genuine examples exist with the right combination of color, strike behavior, and mint characteristics, value becomes emotional. Auctions stop being logical. Private sales become secretive. Ownership becomes personal. In that world, price has no ceiling. The coin is no longer 10 cents. It is history, rarity, and desire compressed into metal. This is why experts warn against careless selling and improper handling. Cleaning a coin, polishing its surface, or rushing to sell without understanding its story can destroy not only value, but the very evidence that makes it rare. The 1983 D Roosevelt dime demands patience and respect. It is not just a coin. It is a survivor of an imperfect moment in mint history, carrying proof that rarity is often created by accident. So before you spend that old dime, before you dismiss it as worthless, pause for a moment. Fortune doesn't always shine bright. Sometimes it hides beneath wear, darkness, and time. The 1983 D Roosevelt dime stands as a reminder that destiny can exist in the smallest places, waiting quietly to transform a life overnight. If you have this coin, do not rush. Do not underestimate it. Because history has shown that even a single dime can hold the power to change everything. The 1999 D Roosevelt dime is one of those coins that almost no one ever looks at twice. It entered circulation quietly at the end of a century, passed through millions of hands, and blended perfectly into everyday life. Yet history has a strange habit of hiding its most powerful secrets inside the most ordinary objects. This small copper nickel coin, struck in Denver, carries a story that did not reveal itself immediately. Over time, certain rare examples began to surface, and when they did, they shocked collectors who realized that this modern dime was never as ordinary as it seemed. The year 1999 marked a turning point for the United States. It was the final year before a new millennium, a period filled with pressure, speed, and enormous production demands inside the minting system. Coins were produced in massive quantities to keep up with circulation needs, and when speed becomes the priority, perfection quietly steps aside. The Denver Mint worked relentlessly, and in that environment, small inconsistencies were born. The 1999 D Roosevelt dime emerged from this high-pressure moment, and a tiny number of coins captured unique traits that would later define their rarity. One of the most captivating features associated with rare 1999 D dimes is their unexpected color transformation. While most clad dimes retain a dull silver appearance, some develop deep red, dark brown, or smoky bronze tones that seem almost impossible for a modern coin. These colors do not sit on the surface like dirt or damage. They appear to rise from within the metal itself, giving the coin depth and character. Collectors believe these shades formed through rare environmental interactions combined with subtle minting variables, creating a look that cannot be duplicated or artificially reproduced. What surprises people most is that condition alone does not define value. Some of the most discussed 1999 D Roosevelt dimes were discovered worn, dirty, or heavily circulated. To an untrained eye, they appeared worthless. But circulation revealed things that untouched coins hid. Decades of use exposed metal flow patterns, unusual textures, and stress marks that told a deeper story about how the coin was struck. Dirt did not destroy these coins. Time revealed their identity. This is why experienced collectors never dismiss an old dime simply because it looks imperfect. The Denver mint mark adds another layer of mystery. On rare 1999 D examples, the D appears faint, distorted, unusually thick, or slightly off-center. These tiny variations suggest unstable striking pressure or worn dies during production. To most people, this detail means nothing. To collectors, it means everything. When combined with unusual toning or surface behavior, the mint mark becomes a silent fingerprint, proving the coin was created during a brief moment when the mint's rhythm slipped just enough to create something unique. As years passed, most 1999 D dimes disappeared into circulation without ceremony. They were spent, lost, or forgotten. But scarcity does not announce itself. It grows quietly. When collectors finally began paying closer attention to certain patterns, the realization came too late for most examples. The rare ones were already gone. Those that survived became intensely desirable, and the competition to own them grew fierce. What once seemed like spare change began to represent opportunity, mystery, and financial transformation. Stories began to surface of people finding extraordinary value where they least expected it. Old jars, inherited savings, and forgotten rolls of dimes suddenly held coins worth more than years of labor. These moments feel unreal when they happen, yet they happen often enough to fuel belief. The 1999 D Roosevelt dime became a modern symbol of this idea that even recent history can hide life-changing wealth in plain sight, waiting patiently for discovery. The reason values climb into unimaginable territory is not metal content, but human obsession. When collectors believe that only a handful of genuine examples exist with the right combination of color, strike behavior, and mint characteristics, logic disappears. Ownership becomes emotional. Auctions become battles of desire. Private sales become guarded secrets. In this world, price has no ceiling. The coin is no longer 10 cents. It becomes history, rarity, and ambition locked into one small object. This is why experts constantly warn against rushing to sell or carelessly handling old coins. Cleaning, polishing, or selling without understanding a coin's deeper story can erase its most important evidence. The 1999 D Roosevelt dime demands patience and respect. It represents a moment when modern minting created rarity by accident, and once that story is damaged, it can never be restored. These coins are not just currency. They are survivors of a system built for speed, not perfection. So before you spend that old dime, before you overlook it as meaningless change, stop for a moment. Fortune does not always announce itself with gold or brilliance. Sometimes it hides beneath wear, darkness, and time. The 1999 D Roosevelt dime stands as proof that destiny can exist in the smallest places, waiting quietly to change a life overnight. If you have this coin, do not rush. Do not underestimate it. Because history has shown that even a single dime can hold the power to transform a fortune forever.